It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Unbelievable, right? You know, we're getting old. I've been doing this since 1997. I met Kev through the wrestling hotlines about 2 years later, 1999, 2000. He was a caller to my wrestling hotline. And he would always leave me great reactions to things I said. I would shout out people that would leave messages. Always was really into pro wrestling. And when I got involved with XPW in 2002 and started, even before that, working for ECW for that final year, doing like promotional stuff and everything, you know, the hotline started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I got involved with Matt Zombie and Brian Damage, Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline. That ran for about 2 years. But no matter what I did, if I was solo, if I had Captain Ivan on my hotline, if I had the Minority Report on, if I had Matt Zombie and Brian Damage, there would always be someone by the name of Kevin from Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. They would always leave me messages. And listen, guys, I'm just telling you right now, I have nothing written down. Since Kevin and I started doing shows off and on 21 years ago, and then when we got dedicated in 2008, you know, whatever comes to my mind, that's what I say. And that would get me into trouble sometimes, and sometimes it would create magic with Kevin and I, but we never went over anything. We never rehearsed it. There's no way I'm going to do that here now. I do have one thing printed that I will share with you a little bit later. Just something that really, really took me back that I'll share with you. But long story short, no matter what I did, and no matter who I was doing this stuff with, Kevin from Sheepshead Bay would always leave me messages, and always good stuff. And I remember it was myself, Joey 924, and Black Moses. We did a show together, the three of us, and I said to Joey, I said, let me clear out the messages. So they would listen in on everybody that would leave messages for my hotline. And he heard Kevin from Sheepshead Bay, and he's like, oh, yeah, Kevin, he leaves messages on a hotline as well. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. So just, I don't know whose decision it was originally, but somebody said, hey, why don't we bring him on as a guest? You know, just to talk the shit. And we brought Kev on, and the reception was amazing. And this is around 2003, because Joey 924 and Black Moses went to some of my XPW bus trips, I should say. So this was around 2003. And then for a couple of years, we decided in 2003, and that's why people still tell me to this day I should pursue Guinness. And it's all documented online. In 2003, myself, Joey 924, Black Moses, and Kevin Castle on a part-time basis, we were trying to figure out how could we get our hotline reports on the internet for everybody to enjoy. I mean, even though the hotline was free and the number was 718-303-4444, you still had to pay long distance back then. Remember 1010 collect, 1-800-collect, I think it was 1010-220, whatever that crap was back then. So people still had to pay long distance. So we were trying to figure out in 2003 how we could get the hotline reports on the internet. And I came up with this brainstorm idea to literally take like a one of those cords with the audio, the 3.5-inch jack or whatever, and I plugged it into the side of my cordless phone. And I took the other side and I plugged it into the computer, and I would dial the hotline on my cordless phone, put it on mute so you couldn't hear me farting in the background. And I would just record it into my computer. And then I would transfer it online through Real Media, Real RAM files, if anybody remember those. You do, you're old. And that's how our shows started going on the net. And then in late 2003, 2004, somebody by the name of Chris Cash, which I know a lot of you know, he's infamous for wanting to do an angle with New Jack, telling New Jack, I'm going to call you the N-word and I want you to react. It's just a storyline, and New Jack wanted to kill him. So Chris Cash, give him credit, man. He had this foresight in 2004 to charge people $50 a month, whatever it is, and you can host online for an hour, your show. He would use his bandwidth. He would connect somehow. And anybody that's heard those early days of our shows in 2004, they're god awful. The audio quality is horrendous, but that's how we started going online. And then in 2006, 2007, right after the Benoit tragedy, we had the big falling out with Joey 924. And if anybody that's on Patreon, and I promise you guys, we're not going to keep everything on Patreon. I'm not going to turn this into a money grab. Monday, I contacted my hosting company. I'm like, please, no ads. Not even beginning and no ads, just this one episode, please, because I have a deal with my hosting company that they splice in some ads, and that cuts down on the cost of hosting all the shows. When you do shows for that many decades, there's a lot of bandwidth and storage being eaten up. So anyway, getting to where we are now, we started doing the shows. We had the falling out with Joey 924, and 2 days ago, I've been offline for the most part of 3 days, but I hate ever saying I needed a mental break, but I really did. I went on Patreon and I posted 5 WrestleMania recaps that Kevin and I did from 2008 until 2012. This is very important. And, you know, I have to be very careful with old intros because we use copyrighted music. We could get in trouble for that. So I was listening back at some of the quality, seeing if I could fix it a little bit. And March 31st, 2008. I put that episode on Patreon this weekend. I will put it on the website for everybody to tune in. Got a couple of brainstorm announcements I'll get into a little bit later as far as where we go from here. But when I started listening to the beginning of March 31st, 2008, very, very interesting thing happened. At the very beginning of the show, Kev and I were just solo, the two of us, duo, and we welcomed everyone to the Minority Report. And Kev said, we got to change that name. I said, yeah, we got to change that name. By the end of the night, we figured out it's going to be the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. So we were doing shows for a couple of years prior, but officially the DTKC show began March 31st, 2008. March 31st, 2025 is the last show that Kevin and I ever did together. 17 years to the day that the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show officially began. I heard that and I lost it. I'm like, holy shit. Because people have always said, when's your anniversary? When's your anniversary? And it's so hard to tell because Kevin and I were doing duo shows for the Minority Report for months before that. We did shows together in 2004. But in 2008, Kev, you hear him. Anybody, you hear him? We got to change that name. By the end of the night, it was the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show, 17 years to the day. So last week, Kevin, somebody pointed out to me, last Sunday, Kevin and I were supposed to do WrestleMania predictions. Last Sunday. Originally, it was scheduled for April 6th. And then I said to Kev, a week and a half ago, I said, Kev, why don't we do it on the 13th instead? It's a little bit closer to WrestleMania. They'll finalize a couple of more matches. Maybe we'll get some updates on the Hall of Fame. Why don't we do it on the 13th? So Kev's like, yeah, let's do it on the 13th. So last week, I do the sit-down show here on YouTube, and I let everybody know that on April 13th at 8:30 p.m., Kevin and I were going to be live right here for your WrestleMania 41 preview and predictions. After I did the sit-down last week, I was talking to Kevin online. We were going over a few things, not only for Monday's show, but we were trying to figure out format. We were going to also do stand and deliver predictions. And we were talking around, maybe like around 1 a.m. last Sunday night. So we just, all right, talk to you tomorrow. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. So that was around 1 a.m. last Sunday night. For those that may not have tuned into last Monday's impromptu with Mish, John Draper, and myself, which very, very powerful episode. I'm sure we'll revisit a couple of things here, but at around 1:30 in the afternoon, about 12 hours after I talked to him, Kevin sent me a DM on Twitter and on Facebook. I, being at my office, did not see the DM until about 3 p.m. And when I saw that I had a DM alert, I looked and it was Kevin. So I clicked on it, and originally I expected him to say, DT, could you get rid of this asshole troll on Discord? Because some of you out there like to throw jokes. One of you who is extremely guilty for last Sunday's show because somebody took a shot at Kev last Sunday, and I said, I ain't bashing. He's my friend. What are you asking me to do? And I've always said on these shows, I've said it countless times, after Daphne passed away, after my favorite wrestler of all time, Terry Funk, passed away, and my favorite wrestler of today's era, Bray Wyatt, passed away, after my best friend passed away a couple of years ago. I always say on these shows every couple of weeks, tomorrow's never guaranteed. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. I get choked up thinking about my parents. I've done too much crying this week, guys. I'm drained. I hopefully I don't lose it here tonight. I don't think I will. I'm just tired. I'm exhausted. Tuesday night, I went on Patreon, just talked for like 3 hours. I felt like, look at me. I'm a heavy guy too. Not as heavy as I used to be. I used to be 365, but any of you out there like me, that your biggest workout is taking the garbage out? Now, just imagine that you never work out, never go to the gym, and then one day you decide you're going to go to the gym and work out. And you go to the gym, and you're going to just do light stuff, but then there's a whole bunch of sexy men, women, whatever floats your boat. They're around, and you try to be extra, and you work out, and you think you're a superstar. The next day you wake up, and you feel like you're 110 years old. That's how I felt Tuesday. My chest hurt, my arms hurt, my head hurt, my neck hurt. Everything hurt. Just did not think it would hit me like that. So at 3:00 in the afternoon on Monday, I see the DM, and the DM is from Kev, and Kev's like, Aunt, I'm sorry, I don't think I could do the show tonight. I'm having chest pains. I might go to the hospital. I'm sorry. And I wrote back to him around 3:00, and I said, Kev, Don't apologize. I got it. I got the show tonight. Take care of yourself. And please don't panic. And I wrote at the very end too, I'm sorry. And I got no response. I got no response at all. And I thought, okay, maybe he's at the hospital. He's getting checked out. You know, hopefully it's nothing serious. And then I would say maybe around 5 o'clock, my phone goes off. It's a DM. It's an instant message, text. And it's Mish. Now, I have not talked to Mish since he left the Monday night show. We do not talk. We have not exchanged a message at all. And Mish says on the text, I said, I hope it's okay, but I gave John Draper, Kev's brother, your phone number. So all I wrote back, Mish will tell you, I wrote back, I said, is Kev okay? And I got no response from Mish either. So I'm like, I got no response from Kev. I get no response from Mish. And then my phone rings, and it's John. And as soon as I heard his voice, I knew. He passed away Monday. I don't even think he was able to even get to the hospital. And like I said on Monday, it was so bizarre. It reminds me so much. I'm sorry, guys. Oh my God, I am so sorry. I just realized something. The whole time I'm talking here, the logo is on the screen. He told me that he passed away. And, from putting things together, it seems like he didn't even get a chance to call 911. He called his friend Chicky, baseball Chicky, on the phone. And I don't know if she got in touch with a friend of theirs or landlord, but asked someone to go check on Kev. And apparently they found him unresponsive, and he was already gone. It reminds me so much of my grandmother from 1991. And the weird thing about it is I won't open my drawer because I don't remember the exact date that my grandmother died, but I think she passed away on April 7th, 1991. Kev passed April 7th, 2025. It reminds me so much of my grandmother because, Kev and I, listen, Monday's show was very, very hard to do because any of you out there that have ever talked to Kev personally, especially on Patreon, and I swear to you, none of this is Patreon grabs, but there was a special relationship with Kev and our Patreon family because when I always joked on these shows that I tell Kev, do a 1 hour show. You got to get rest. You got to sleep. And he does a 5 hour show. And people tell me, oh, he talked for 2 hours after the show was over. He talked for 2 hours before. Kev's life, and this is no pun, this is not pandering. Kev's life was all of you. Kev's life was pro wrestling. Kev's life was the Mets. Kev's life was metal music, booking bands, taking care of bands. Kev's life was Trez, Chicky, Ryder, and all of them that he knew personally. Kev's life was doing Soup with Mish. Kev's life was the DTKC show. Kev's life, that was his life. That's what gave him most joy. And if anybody has been listening, especially over the last month and a half's worth of shows, I invite you to check out, it's the third week in January. I don't remember what episode it was, but the second, you'll see it in the synopsis. I wrote, we went off the rails the second half of the show. There is so much laughter on that show. People are like, I haven't heard that kind of laughter since 2008 that Kevin and I had. So what was very, very difficult on Monday, and I want to say this right at the beginning. I want to say this right off the bat. Some people were taken back by some of the conversation that John, myself, and Mish had. But here's the thing. Kev, if he knew you personally, there was a special relationship there. And Kev, especially on his Patreon, was comfortable, was safe. He knew that every single person that was tuning in was someone who cared about what we did. And it wasn't just somebody trying to troll. It wasn't somebody just trying to flame. So he would really open up and really get raw and deep into conversation and reveal things that people would tell me and it'd be like, holy shit, can't believe you brought that up. That was his safe place. So when everything happened Monday, you know, there's a lot of hurt, but there's also a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, especially when it comes from Kev's family, because they loved that man and still love that man and tried everything they could to try to get things more in balance. You know, one thing that we said on Monday was, you all knew, and I knew, Kevin Castle. Maybe me, Mish, and his friends and some others, you know, got to know that other side also. But for a lot of you out there, you did not know Kevin Scandato. And the thing is that Kev cared about so many of you out there, truly, truly cared. It wasn't an act. That in passing, if he could still help many of you out there, he would. And this was a message on Monday that, look, you know, there's this extreme amount of comfort that some people get online when they are behind a computer. You get into this habit that the internet gives you the most joy, and that takes over. You know, for years and years and years, and this is why it feels like my grandmother, for years and years and years, for 20 years, when are you and Kev going to meet up? When are you, Kev, going to meet up? And I can't tell you how many times we were planning something and it just didn't work out. Just like my grandmother, when I started to get into my early 20s and I would go out more with my friends, my grandmother would say, when are we going to Atlantic City? Her life was her family, playing cards, watching wrestling. That's it. And food. And food. If you've seen pictures of her, you know what I mean. She always wanted to go to Atlantic City with me, and I kept putting it off. We'll do it, Dana. Nanny, I promise we'll do it. We'll do it. And I even told her a couple of weeks before, no, we're going to do it. We'll do it soon. And she passed. Kevin and I were planning on meeting up with Cross later on this year when his book signing comes to New York. And we were going to go out. We were going to do a few things. We were also going to do a little impromptu interview and just, you know, go from there. Go from there. A lot of you understand now why Kevin and I never got together. Kevin had this aura about him that he always wanted all of you to think of him at the best that he can be. Not that he was lying, no lies, but there was an insane amount of pressure on him to maintain how, you know, good he was and everything about him. You know, and that's what John was trying to really bring out on Monday, besides the love. But if you know anyone out there that you see is starting to get really secluded and the balance of real and IWC internet really seems to be taking over, someone doesn't want to go out, someone is afraid to go out, someone is, you know, that's when you really need to intervene. And listen, I'm telling you guys, you know, that's the point we were trying to make on Monday. There was no shade thrown on Kevin Monday. Kev always looked out to try to help someone. And Kev would say to me, you know, when I told him about my blood being too thick and my doctor told me a couple of months ago, you don't take care of this, you're at an elevated risk of getting a stroke. I'm married. I got 2 doggies. I still got my parents here. I got to be careful. And what happened to Kev, I got off my fat ass and I went and I got it taken care of. We talked about it on the shows. And I credited Kev. I said, a lot of what happened to you really, really scared me straight that, I don't want to get to the point and be in that position. So believe me when I say to you, on Monday, it was more of, I know if Kev was trying to talk to anybody out there, coming down, looking down, he'd be like, look, I loved each and every one of you out there, but there has to be a little bit more of a balance. That's the only thing about Monday. And it was very, very hard to talk about that stuff because now people understand a little bit more about privacy for over the last 15, 20 years. We didn't get together and we didn't have things like that. But let me tell you something. The love and appreciation of all of you out there, I swear to you, I told my wife, I said, honey, I better get this kind of love when I die. And she's like, I don't know about that. I'm blown away. I am absolutely blown away. I'm not just saying this. I swear on Jesus Christ, I'm not just saying this. And the way I say it, it sounds fucked up, but it's not meant to be that way. Kev was never in the wrestling business. He never worked for an indie promotion, even though there was a little opportunity where he could have done something with USA Pro Wrestling or the Mass Maniac back then, but Kev's like, no, I got too much going on at work. Kev never worked for a wrestling company. So, with that in mind, do you remember anybody that did not work for a wrestling company that wasn't in the wrestling business? Some people have used that phrase, that got this much love the last 6 days. I can't think of anybody. Fucking close. I went offline for a couple of days and I started catching up today, looking at all the messages in the DMs. And I tell you, it's been hard, man. I feel guilty. Like, how am I going to respond to everyone? How do you respond to hundreds and hundreds of messages? And the thing that really got me, and this is why I kind of needed to take a couple of days off. I couldn't believe how many of you out there like, DT, you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, don't worry about me. I'm fine. Kev's family. I didn't write that back because it would come off rude, but that was my thoughts. Like, don't worry about me. Fuck me. But something else. And I think that there's 20 years of proof behind this. No matter what, the only time Kev ever no-showed outside of recent health, you go back those years, Kev, I don't know where he is. Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Don Tony. I don't know where Kev is. That didn't happen often. The only times Kev ever missed a show back in the day is if he fell asleep. That guy, even if he felt sick, even if he had personal tragedy, when his dad passed away, with other, things that happened, he would always say to me, nah, DT, I'm going to do the show. Get my mind off of things. It helps me get through things. And for years and years and years, even when Kev and I did our 20th anniversary show, January, or 1 year return show, January 29th. I said this. I said, it still blows my mind. Over the years, you get messages from someone who'll be like, look, we just had this terrible tornado and my house was destroyed and I'm standing in front of what used to be my house and I'm just want to thank you guys for doing the show to give me an escape. And I'm like blown away. For back in the day, some of you remember this. There were members of our Navy, United States Navy, that would tune into the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show on their ship and would be like, he would call in. I can't remember his name right now, but he would call in and be like, yeah, we're all tuning into the show, guys. And you hear all these people, yeah. And he sent us pictures because he was afraid that we would think he was lying. But I want to make this perfectly clear. Kev always felt you guys took a few hours of your time, a few dollars from your wallet, whatever it was, combination thereof, we owed it to you to give you what you got. When we launched Patreon 8 years ago, even we joked about it 2 years ago, when somebody revamped our Patreon page and she's like, "You're offering all of this for $5? Are you crazy?" And Kevin like, "Yeah, we can't like no." He just always felt like, okay, we always wanted you to feel like you were going to be left with a fat stomach, eating so much. And that's the only reason why I did the news show on Wednesday or Thursday. I don't even remember which day it was. Why I finished the history show late Friday night. Because I kept thinking to myself, Kev right now would be kicking me in my ass and say, "Motherfucker." I even in my last goddamn hour, he was worried about doing the show. He always wanted to give you his best. And his voice will never leave us. I have 20 years of shows. 15 of them have been offline because of expenses. They're all coming back. And just like I have said elsewhere, it's not a money grab. I'm going to finagle and figure out ways to get this shit online where everybody could just enjoy it. And this is not a money grab. Even tonight, I was like, somebody sent the super chat, Nia Rofe, much love to you, my friend. He tunes in all the way from Israel. And you see what's going on in Israel right now and the Gaza Strip and all that. They go through hell. And these shows are his escape. I saw his super chat going and I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot to turn it off. I turned it off immediately. It's Near, I wrote this earlier. DM me. I used to have your PayPal address, I think. I need it so I could give you back what you sent me earlier. But I want to tell you a few other things. And then I'll go to the chat because I know a lot of you definitely have a few things to say. I want to shout some of you out. Something I started noticing a trend. And without naming podcaster names, it's probably one of the reasons why I have kind of had to do damage control for many, many years. And I said this, I think, on Patreon the other day. I admitted a lot of stuff this week. When Barack Obama became president, and I used to get I would get real deep in the weeds and say some really questionable shit about him. It wasn't about ethnicity. It was just about politics. But, I didn't like how it felt like black and white were being turned against each other. And, just to see, you think of what happened with Jesse Smollett, I think his name is, or whatever, and you see other things, and you see even cops, and you see what happened to George Floyd, which was awful. He might have been, had issues, but didn't deserve to die. You see, hands up, don't shoot, I can't breathe, and you see all these things going on. And it's like, I know deep inside my heart, there's never been anger or animosity. I joked about everybody. When I became friends with New Jack years and years and years ago, there was a couple of people online that were trying their hardest to get New Jack against me. They would always say, oh, he called New Jack the N-word. He called that New Jack the N-word. And he knew it was bullshit. But I was like, man, there's some really vicious people online that are trying to turn people against each other. And I got fucking afraid. I got afraid. I can't even lighthearted joke anymore. I don't name drop things from the past as a bragging thing, but I bring it up to remind myself, DT, you don't have a racist bone in your body. DT, you look at everybody the same way. You care about everybody the same way. You joke about everybody the same way. And Kev lived by that. I always brought this up. If any of you, you're welcome. In fact, Dells, and I saw what you wrote, Dells. On the replay, there'll be a link. Dells has it up. When we did the get together, I think it was like 5-6 years ago, Lucky 13 Saloon in Brooklyn. That was a turning point for me as a connection with all of you out there. It was a turning point with Kev and I as well on the negative side, because I had diverticulitis surgery right before that. And if you watch that, you'll see me holding my stomach at times. I'd have these awful pains, sharp pains. I had no business being there, but I was like, nah, we're all getting together. And Kev said he had to work. Kev ain't got money like that, so we respected that. Hey, got to make your money, man. You got to pay your bills. Fine. He didn't show up. But deep down inside, I always felt, is he afraid of showing his face? There's nothing wrong with you, man. We've seen pictures surface now in his passing. There's nothing wrong with him. There was nothing wrong with him at all. But there was this fear. His fear was different. My fear was, man, I can't even just have fun and just rag on people. When you watch that Lucky 13 footage at the very end, which will live with me for the rest of my life, people formed two lines. One line was to meet Soup Guys, Draper, Mish, Joey Numbers, and one line was to meet me. The line was at the fucking door. And what I noticed also, and I joked about it, was, motherfucker, 80% of them are black and Puerto Rican. I'm like, yeah, I'm a perceived racist and I hate everybody. And meanwhile, 80% of the people online, go look, you'll see it. You'll be blown away. And when I always talked about the D'Lo Brown appearance, when D'Lo revealed that at the time when he was working in Japan, he would bring all of our shows to Japan. And all the American wrestlers would all tune in. And meanwhile, that blew us away, but because we're not professionals. And I was like, and it's still recorded. It's online. I said, D'Lo, do you have a problem with any time I joke about black or anything? He's like, no. He's like, I know there's no maliciousness in what you say. But even with that, it put a fear in me. And I felt this subconscious that I got to be more politically correct. I got to be more politically correct. I got to be a little bit more careful what I say. I can't say that a diva looks like a goldfish because she had too much plastic surgery. You know, like I can't be a little bit too raw because it might hurt somebody's feelings. And when Kev passed, and I was reading DMs, something that's been building. There's a trend. Somebody wrote it tonight on my Twitter again. But I have in front of me somebody who wrestles on television that was just very, very distraught about what happened to Kev. And let me also say this before I even bring this up, because this is my love for Kev and why I will continue Kev's legacy and be a little bit better of a person because of him, and also start going back to my roots. I want to say this very important before I go any further. I'm shocked as far as how many people in wrestling that tune in to what we do. It's not a bragging thing. Trust me, there's a lot of podcasters out there that probably have no idea the support that they got from some people online. A lot of people like, we don't go out drinking anymore. What do you think we do? We game, we listen to podcasts, we check out sports. What do you think we do? That's what one person said to me. But also, there was some people in the podcast and news world that didn't get along with Kev all that much. They know who they are. I promise you all, everybody, every person I could possibly think of reached out to me and said, listen, pretty much the same thing. Even though Kev and I had our differences, I know he was a good man. And I know he had a very good heart. And I know that he truly, truly left a huge mark on this. And there's a lot of people crushed over it. And I just want to send my condolences. That was given to me over and over and over again. So some of you out there that are extremely loyal to Kev, you see somebody online that didn't get along with him, paying tribute to him, let it go. Don't, oh, yeah, you look, but what you said when he was alive, let it go. Because I guarantee you, Kev right now is fucking giddy. He is smiling from ear to ear at this love that he is getting. You might remember when he first went to the hospital a month and a half, 2 months ago. And I felt that some people were kind of ignoring it online. Some of you may remember this. And I felt awful afterwards because I knew like our friends like Jason and JD and Joe Cronin and a bunch of others all reached out. Drew, everybody reached out. I wasn't singling anybody out, but there was some people that I was like, man, that fucking person, when your fucking cat shits gelatin, has an uneasy stomach, Kev's the first person to reach out to you. And I'm like, you couldn't even just fucking write something just to put a little smile on his face and make him feel. That's how I felt inside at the time. Most of them this time around did reach out. And I can't thank you all enough. If Kev is seeing all of this, first of all, Kev, if you saw everything that I wrote to everybody I've responded to so far, even some people you didn't get along with, people truly, truly cared. Even if they disagree with you, they truly cared. If you saw all that, it also concerns me because I'm just joking. No gel regs this week. Nah, not in the mood for that this week. They always have that, oh, your grandmother's looking down right now and she sees you. She sees what you're doing. Ew, yuck. Yeah. You ever think that? You ever think like someone's looking down and you're like, I hope they see that I'm carrying on their legacy. But then you realize, oh my God, they're seeing me playing pocket pool. Just trying to lighten up the mood, guys. I'm sorry if it didn't hit. Something really blew me away. Shout out to Kavan. Somebody, and I got so many messages, but one in particular really, really hit me. Somebody who performs on TV that had a much closer friendship to Kev that I didn't even realize. I'm not going to read everything that they said, but they wrote something that I keep seeing written over and over and over again. And this is why I promise you, I will fucking never do a show again if I don't keep that Don Tony and Kevin Castle show legacy alive. And not just through just old audio. You know what this person wrote? And you'll see it on my Twitter from others. And I keep seeing it on messages and even in the chat room tonight. This person says, my favorite thing was to pull up old episodes of you guys reviewing wrestling for the longest time while I'm on flights. And I would remain anchored to the truth of what you two were saying. And I'd re-listen to that shit all the time, even before bed. While I was doing cardio, there's only so many times you could listen to Metallica. It's a really fucking weird day. We're all going to get through it. We're all going to go one day. It's a part of life. We all try to postpone it as much as possible. I'm trying to focus on the good memories I have of Kevin instead of the random tragedy. I hope that you're able to do that too. Here's the point that's important. No, it's all important, but I've made myself too sick over the loss of people. I just always try to remind people of how they want to proceed through the passing if they could talk to us. And he goes on, and I'm going to read something else in a minute, but he goes on to say that if Kev could talk to us right now, Kev would say, don't you dare fucking cry. You better all just talk about WrestleMania 41 and laugh and just have good times. And if you really cared for me, just don't forget about me. And this person then says, and this is what blows me away. I always related to you and Kevin because we grew up in the same culture. Thick skin, broad sense of humor, humility when necessary, and a big go fuck yourself to anybody who needed to hear it when it was time. The rest of the world does not operate that way. I find it so much comfort in hearing or being around that kind of community. There's more I could say, but that's the thing I think that I lost. And reuniting with Kevin for the last 2 years helped me get that back a little bit. And that's Kevin Castle in a nutshell. It's Kevin, and he never left that. Me, I got too afraid. Maybe I felt I had more to lose. I don't know. But I pussied out. Kev never pussied out. And that is just thick skin, broad sense of humor, humility when necessary, and a big go fuck you to anybody who needed to hear it. And that's what Kev and I were all about from back in the day. And I am so, so thankful that he came into my life 20 some odd years ago, just as wrestling fans. We did have a falling out, but you best damn believe that when we got back together as a duo, it was for the right reasons. It wasn't for money. It wasn't, because we were suffering by ourselves and we needed. No, it was a slow healing process. And there was a lot of unknown. There was a lot of misconception. I always, like people say, you guys, we could have been on Sirius satellite radio. We were offered to be on satellite radio before Busted Open was ever a thing. And we didn't do it for numerous reasons. One, money. Two, yes, because if we're going to fucking cut into our real lives, there's got to be some financial, gain on it. Also, it was very, very difficult to get together in the city, to go to a studio and try to record it. And then when do we do it? There was a lot of other things. People don't realize how difficult. Today's technology is different. You look at Busted Open, and I'm not ragging on them because a few people in and around Busted Open reached out to me too. Much love, much love. I'm going to feel awfully guilty ragging on some people in the future. But it's different now. Tommy Dreamer could be in his basement. I'm not saying it like that, but he could be in his basement. Good video, simulcast there. People could be with a green screen. Perfect. In their house. Back in 2009, 2008, and 2006. Because you remember, FM radio wanted myself, Joey Black Moses, and Joey 924 to do a show. And the problem was, number one, we couldn't all get together. Number two, we cursed too much. And then they thought, why don't you just give us a tape and censor everything out? And I'm like, first of all, technology wasn't good. Imagine our audio in 2006, 7, and giving that to a radio station. How do you do that? So I am just grateful that Kev came into my life. And it's hard, man. It's hard because we talked off the line. Not that much, but enough that I knew a lot of what was going on. But I never realized how much insecurity he had as far as being seen. You know, we were going to do video together here on YouTube 5 years ago. And up until a month before, he said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And a month before, he didn't feel comfortable. He wasn't ready. Equipment, this and that. He was not technical savvy. And, you know, I said, okay, I'll do video. You do audio. And I looked back on it and I felt so embarrassed for me because I'm like, I know how people are going to look. Why are you on video? Why is he not on video? Why are you talking to a logo? And I felt very guilty, man. I felt very guilty. I wanted us to branch out and blow up the fucking world. Not literally, but just fucking blow up the wrestling podcast scene. Kev wanted that too. But our fears were a little bit different. Kev had a set of balls this big, but was always concerned about trolls, concerned about the perception of him outside of his confines of his house. So he preferred to be in his house, you know, for, you know, the latter part of his life, not go out. And there's a lot of guilt over the last 7 days, 6 days. There's been a lot of guilt on my end because I was an asshole back then. I know a lot of you read between the lines. A lot of you remember those times that Kevin and I would have conversations on the show. We were talking about real life, and I would talk about, like, you know, when I used to do the blah, blah, blah episodes and the solo reports, I would say, you know, I see a lot of people online that create these personas about them, and then they got to live through they got to live up to that persona, and there's a lot of pressure, and then you don't know if you're talking to the real person or this made up person. A lot of you remember that stuff. Was some of it directed towards him? Maybe, but I didn't know. Had I had known, I would have handled things differently. Kevin was truly, truly an awesome guy, man. Genuine fucking encyclopedia of knowledge. If I forgot something, he bailed me out. He would bring up things and I'd be like, how do you fucking remember that? I miss him. I miss him very much. And I'll say this. One thing, I wasn't going to do any shows this week. And I kept thinking about Kevin, and I swear to you, as weird as it sounds, I don't ever talk weird like this. You know, like people ask me early this week, do I believe in afterlife? Do I think I'll see Kevin one day? Do I think Kevin is reunited with his dad and helping Chris with all the cats that perished a couple of weeks ago? And I do believe there's an afterlife. I do believe it. You know, if I could give two examples that you've all seen, just remember the night that Daphne passed, and remember my conversation about Bray Wyatt, the moment that he passed away with the vest. You saw what happened in this room. Those 2 times. I look back on it and I'm like, if that's not the afterlife, I don't know what is. You see it and it's weird. It's weird. But earlier this week, I kept thinking about Kev, and I truly felt Kev saying to me, you motherfucker, I was going to do this show up until I caught my heart attack, motherfucker. I haven't been feeling well, and he probably felt worse than he perceived us to be. And you're not going to do the shows? You're going to let everybody down? You're not going to give? They care about us, and you're not. That's what Kev was. Kev always, the show must go on. The show must go on. Do I think it killed him? No, I don't think it killed him. If anything, all of you may have helped keep him going. Because he even said on these shows, I think he said it March 31st. If he didn't say it March 31st, he definitely said it on March 24th episode. Remember what he said? He says, I'm starting to realize that my work in the music, it gives me the most stress. And these shows, the wrestling shows, are my joy. It's not that he didn't have joy with the music scene, but he had to battle and work harder and, work to really protect people in the industry. That's very, very different. And he said these shows do not bring him any, stress at all. He said it right on our show. And most of you heard that. And that I take pride on, because you guys, whether you tuned in on DTKCShow.com, whether you're a patron, a channel member on YouTube, a lurker, that guy truly, truly, you made him happy. And he was definitely not forgotten. And I invite you again, find me someone else related to wrestling that was not in the wrestling business that got this kind of love and tributes online. You won't find one. You won't find one. So now, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Things change for me. I said this on Tuesday and I really broke down. I'm going to say it here. I'm not going to break down. I'm just too tired. I'm too exhausted. But even when Kevin and I were not doing shows during the COVID era, up until around 2023, when we weren't doing shows for those years, we still had a lot of you saying, when are you two guys going to get back together? So even though I did a solo show, the Don Tony show, Breakfast Soup Raw, in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, one day we'll do a show again. Don't know when, but I think it'll happen. So even though we had those years of not doing shows together, in the back of my mind, yeah, one day when the time is right, we'll do it. This is the first time. This is the first time since 1999 that I'm alone. I don't have a co-host. Back then it was Matt Zombie, Brian Damage, Timmy Arson, ECW Zombie, God rest his soul. Joey 924, Black Moses, Mish. There was always someone, maybe not every show, but this is the first time that, I'm here by myself. Show must go on. Absolutely. And, how do we go forward with this? Right now, it's day by day. It's day by day. I haven't even thought about going forward, but as far as right now, this is what I'm thinking out loud. Tomorrow night, I'm going to do a show, in tribute to Kev. I mean, we'll recap Raw. We will definitely talk about some news. On Tuesday, I'm not doing Patreon. Patreon will now go to Thursday. Kev listen, I say this with nothing but love. Kev had the best night of the week on Patreon, and Kev got more fundage than I did on Patreon, because he was that important to what we do. A lot of you 5-7 hours on Discord on Thursday. So Thursday in tribute, I will be doing a show there. Not sure what time yet, but I will definitely move Patreon to Thursday. Trez hears this. Trez, Thursdays are open to you whenever you want. Even if you just, your husband's in the shower and you're like, I got 10 minutes to kill. All you got to do is just click in. In fact, we may even do it on Kev's channel in the beginning, just a little tribute to him. So Monday, I will definitely do a show. Thursday will be Patreon. I am leaning towards doing a news update on probably Tuesdays and Fridays or Wednesdays and Fridays. Sunday, we'll still do the sit down. History show, it's either going to be Thursday or Friday. That's going to be up in the air because that's still a hell of a lot of work. I didn't even start this week. Now, as far as WrestleMania preview and predictions and Stand and Deliver preview and predictions, I am thinking about doing it. I haven't decided if I'll do it live or pre-recorded. If I do it pre-recorded, I am going to record it on Wednesday and then do the news update on Tuesday. Because once NXT is done Tuesday, Stand and Deliver will be set. We already know what WrestleMania 41 will be, so more than likely I'm going to do a news update this week on Tuesday. In fact, I got news for you. I'll probably do tomorrow night, Monday night, Raw review and the news together. Take Tuesday off, do WrestleMania predictions Wednesday, Patreon Thursday, and then we get to the weekend. I will tell you all this. The beginning of this episode, I told you that Kevin and I last Sunday night around 1 o'clock in the morning were going over what we were going to do on YouTube tonight. And we went through most of the matches that were already announced. At the time, the four-way for bronze title was not official yet. We still went over our predictions. We were also trying to figure out what's going to happen with Randy Orton. The only prediction that Kev did not give me was the New Day versus the Viking Raiders. So when I do predictions, I have written down Kev's predictions as of last Sunday night. And knowing Kev, I don't think his predictions would have changed much at all. So I will definitely let all of you know what Kev's predictions were. Most of them are similar as mine. Some are a little bit different. And, it was an interesting conversation. We were going over it. There is a big difference of opinion about Braun Breaker's match. Just Cena, Cody also. But I know Kev would want the shows to get back to some type of normalcy. Kev right now would say, DT, you spent a fucking hour talking about me. And, sure, everybody, is grieving right now. We're celebrating the man because he touched so many of you. But I know him right now, he'd be like, WrestleMania 41's happening in a week, man. We got to be talking about that. That's Kev. When I put my dog to sleep, Peanut, about 13 years ago, 12 years ago, I did it 3 hours before we were doing a DTKC show. And I told Kev, and I was crying my eyes out. Kev's like, don't do the show tonight. I'm like, no, I want to do it. I said, I need to get my mind off of it. Just please don't talk about it on the show. If I end up bringing it up, fine. But I don't want anybody to know yet. And we did the show. Perfect. If you listen to our 1-year return anniversary show early this year, Kev was talking about when his dad had passed away. And I told him, take as much time as you need. And we talked so much about his dad. And I never realized how important that was to him. I knew it was important. I never realized how much it was until he talked about it on one of our shows back in January. But he wanted to do the show. When he got hit with his health issues and came time for Patreon, I'm going to reveal something. There's some of you out there that love to write. And I would tell Kev, I'm like, Kev, if you want me to condense everybody's questions down to like a sentence, a line or two, I'll do the best I can without damaging, the amount of, what they're saying. He's like, no, just send it to me. So I would just send it the way it is. And I would say, Kev, you do what you want, but, try to keep it an hour and a half. Now with Trez, he kind of kept a little bit more in check because he was concerned about Trez. He's like, Trez has got work the next day. She's married. I don't want her to be on for 3-4 hours. So Kev would always say to me, yeah, no, I'm going to do a show to show. Trez, don't worry about it. But even this last Thursday, he did what, 4.5, 5 hours. And every time he sends me to download DT, we went a little bit longer than I expected. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? This is what he loved. He absolutely, I'm not saying this to pander to you guys. He fucking loved talking to you. You gave him joy, probably too much joy. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He absolutely loved talking to all of you. One other thing. We're going to bring the old shows back. I have not even thought about how I'm going to do it yet, but I will tell you this. Patreon, it's a little easier because almost all of our patrons have been there for years. Like very few new signings over the last year or two. So in that case, it's easier to just upload a whole year or two's worth of shows on like a Dropbox link, give everybody the password and say, go ahead, enjoy. Putting it on the website's a little different because I got to type up like a thumbnail and a synopsis, and it's not that easy. That takes a lot of time. So if anybody looked at our Patreon page this weekend, I put 5 shows up and it's 5 different posts. You don't want to drown out all of today's shit. So that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. As far as our channel members on YouTube, I am going to start uploading all the old shows as well to you. Only thing that changes as far as YouTube goes is some of our intros probably have to be trimmed down because my channel will get flagged and shut down for trademark music. Even though Sick of It All absolutely thought it was so cool, we played their song, Take the Night Off. And by the way, a lot of you have been asking me, the song that Kevin and I always played was called Take the Night Off by Sick of It All. But because they're responsible to a record company, it's not their decision to make. Whenever I put an episode on YouTube and you heard that intro, flag. And we would have to trim it out. So that's the only thing that will be different on channel members. Yes, I will make it available for everybody, even on YouTube as well. But I'm thinking about having a secondary channel for retro stuff because not everybody does want to listen to retro. But I have a feeling now with Kev, people are going to want to tune into listening to him. And I will never take that away. Patreon, it's a little bit different because he's got about 500 shows there that's never been made public. He's got about 250 or 300 solo shows, and then he's got 150 shows with Trez between KNT and Dark Chronicles. So there's a lot of stuff there as well. But, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot, especially since I do have a full-time job. I do want to say something else as far as funeral. This is what I know so far. I don't have the name of the funeral home in front of me. If you do a Google search, you'll find it. Kev is having a private funeral on Friday, the 25th of April. It's going to be a funeral, a wake. This is a better word. Wake, the 25th of April. There will be a funeral mass Saturday, April 26th in a church, and it will be laid to rest, I believe, Sunday, the 27th. I had mentioned on Patreon that I wondered if he was going to be cremated because I thought if you have a funeral 3 weeks after or 18 days after somebody passes, you know, that seems like an awful long time. But I now learned that he's being laid to rest in a cemetery. So, again, this is still surreal. You know, some people thought this was fake news. We don't fake news to make news. We would never fucking fake something like this. And And, and I want to say this too. Some of you, whether it's Discord or on YouTube or even on Twitter, that used to rag on Kev a little bit. I said it as recent as last Sunday night. He was my friend. Even though we had a falling out for a couple of years, he's still my friend for almost half my life. And he truly, truly, truly was a good guy. All right. One thing that motherfucker always had was loyalty. He gave it, he received it. And, some of you out there, I know you try to just have a little fun. You don't really mean it seriously, but you realize how much it upset Kev. And when I always said life's too short, tomorrow's never guaranteed, I see my mom and I see my dad once a week, sometimes 2-3 times for my dad because he lurks around the shopping center where I work. But I swear to you guys, I'm not trying to be emotional, but my mom, the same day that Kevin passed, had her pacemaker changed. She's good. She's okay. But every time I see my mother at her house and I kiss her goodbye, I always walk out of that house with this empty, empty, empty feeling inside. And I say, is this the last time I'm going to see my mom? Because I always have this weird premonition that my phone's going to ring the same day, the next day, within the next week, getting some bad news because of how bad her heart is. Every fucking time. My father, it's a little different because my father, I don't know, something about my father, he's a superhero. I think my father's going to live to be 140. And hopefully Musk doesn't take away his Social Security checks. He's still living. My mom is different. Every time I leave, my wife knows. I told her. And she sees me in the car and I'm silent. She's like, honey. I'm like, you don't understand. Her mother is 85 years old. My mother is going to be 77. And tomorrow's never guaranteed. Do not think that we are all, like this person said to me, we all try to prolong. And we never truly know when it's going to happen. Unless you're on your deathbed and somebody could pull a plug, then you'll know pretty much, damn, don't pull that plug. I might be like this, but trust me, I'll be like, don't pull a plug. This sucks. I don't want to go out like this. That's when you pretty much know exactly when it's time to say goodbye. But you just never know, man. And it creeps me the fuck out too. Because I'm not this specimen of good health. Kevin and I were less than a year and 3 months difference in age. That's all. We were 15 months different in age. He was born in 68. I was born in 69. He was going to be 57, I believe, in June. So when I see this, listen, other people that I adored, some friends, some not, passed away tragically, younger than me. But Kev hits different, not just because of the DTKC show, not because of the friendship, but because he and I used to joke, other than music, we had so much in common. And it's like, man, that's how he went out. And it reminds me so much of my grandmother. And again, I'm going to look in the drawer and I'm going to see the day that my grandmother passed. But I don't remember exactly what day it was in 1991, but it was in April. And there's so many similarities, the one thing that upsets me is like my grandmother. I kept putting it off. We'll see. We'll go to Atlantic City. Kevin and I meeting up, putting it off. We'll go. We'll meet up. Yeah, no. Cross's book signing. Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to finally do it. And it never happened. That sucks, man. It sucks. trust me when I tell you, the way the Mets are playing right now and WrestleMania, even though some people feel like this year's WrestleMania is not going to be as good as last year's, I kind of disagree. Kev did not want to go out like this. You know, some people have asked me over the last 6 days, you think he kind of was, you know, ready to go? And, you know, I kind of touched on this last Monday. I think when his dad passed, I think that just really, really crushed him. But, you know, some people, when they lose someone really, really special, they kind of give up all hope. It's like, I don't even, you know, I'll just, you know, go on with life, but whenever it happens, whatever. Trust me, I have someone very, very close to me that should have died 5 years ago. And looking back on it, I think this person just let themselves go so much that they were indirectly just like, yeah, if it's my time, whatever, I don't give a shit no more. And few people ask me, do I think he had that attitude? No, I think what made him happy made him so happy that Kev did not want to go out like this. Trust me. He absolutely did not want to go out. But you know what really upsets me? And I say this, what upsets me is how could they not have been able to do a better job in saving him? And let me explain this. When Kev got rushed to the hospital a month and a half ago, you know, I remember what happened to my mom. I thought she was going in for simple surgery. Next thing I know, she's got a pig valve in her and she was pronounced dead twice. And she survived. My dad ended up getting quadruple bypass. They said that if he didn't get it done, he would have the Widowmaker within a month or two. I asked Kev, I said, Kev, did they put any stents in? Nope. Did they open you up? Bypass? Nope. I'm like, you got health insurance? And I even said it to him joking around. He's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, you didn't need a stent. You didn't need bypass. So it can't be that bad. He's like, yeah, they told me, look, you know, take this medication and change your eating habits and, you know, just monitor your blood pressure. I take blood pressure medicine. I take Lizartan. I don't know if anybody else takes it. I've been taking Lizartan for 10 years. My blood pressure's okay. It's, when I take it, it's 120/80. If I wait a day or two or I forget a day or two and I take my blood pressure, once in a while it happens. I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot to take my blood pressure medicine this weekend. And my wife's like, you idiot. And then before I take it, I'm like, let me go see what my blood pressure's like. Let me see what it really is without the medicine. And it'd be like 140/82. I'm like, do I really need this shit? You best damn believe I take this motherfucker every day now. You know, so I don't understand why this was so sudden the way it is. My grandmother was different. My grandmother was 4'11", 5 foot tall. Anybody's ever seen that picture? And she was like 200 and, I don't know, 40 pounds. She was heavy. She had diabetes like Kev. She really was very immobile. But she also, you know, wasn't going to the doctors. I don't recall my grandmother being on heart medicine. I don't recall my grandmother being on anything. And so I could understand why it was so abrupt for her. But for Kev, I don't understand how he didn't have to get a bypass. He didn't have to get a stent, but still he couldn't survive this. I'm baffled by that. I'm totally baffled by that. I don't think we'll ever know the answer. So I want to thank all of you for spending a little time here tonight. Monday night was crazy. It was only a few hours after he passed. There was a lot of, you know, different emotions flying that night. Tuesday night, I went on Patreon by myself. Some of you were with me live, but I just needed to talk. And I talked for about 3 hours. And I've talked to a few people off the internet. during this week. I've talked a lot. On YouTube, on the regular shows, other than the announcement Monday, I haven't talked. But since Monday, a lot has come out. And a lot of your, condolences and tributes have come out. And it is crazy. It is mind-blowing to see how many of you out there went out of your way to say something. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I know a lot of hardcore WWE fans fight with hardcore AEW fans, and whether the AEW fans are the whack jobs or the WWE fans are the whack jobs, and there's a lot of stupid shit online. Here's another example. Both sides, came together. Didn't matter who was a fan of what, And Kev made it no secret. He was not a fan of AEW. But that didn't mean that he didn't give a shit about the wrestlers. Adam Copeland was one of his favorite wrestlers, but that was his preference. No issues there. No issues there. And tons of people involved with AEW. Not tons, but enough sent me DMs. They're like, my condolences. Some, closet listeners, and they didn't agree with everything that Kev said, but loved his passion. Loved the hustle, somebody said too. So he will never be replaced. Some people have said to me, you're not going to get another co-host, right? I don't know what happens in the future. Am I looking for a co-host? No. Will it I don't know, but Kev will never be replaced though. The Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show will haunt the haters out there until they're 6 feet under. Even when I'm long gone, I'm going to put something in my fucking will. I have not made a will up yet, but I'm going to put something in my will. This motherfucker's server, that server stays up there until the year 2100. I want to make sure every fucking hater is tormented by the DTKC show when I'm well under the ground as well. These shows will live on forever. I don't expect everyone in droves to start checking out old archives. But there's ever a time you're a little down, there's always going to be a show available that you can access from what Kevin and I did. It will never be the same. We were so looking forward to doing predictions tonight. We were so looking forward to, discussing what happens after Mania. We were talking, you want to do one Saturday night? You want to do one Sunday night after Mania? And I'm like, Kev, every motherfucker and their grandmother's going to be doing a podcast recap. He's like, yeah, but, it's WrestleMania. We'll be in the mode and this and that. I'm like, well, we could pre-record it. It's like, yeah, maybe we'll do that. So that's how we left off. We were going to do a recap somewhere, somehow, right after either Saturday night next week or Sunday morning, and then you do the Monday. But never happened. Sucks. Really sucks, man. Kev, I am a DTKC show guy. I always own this shirt. There ain't no way Pro Wrestling Tees would be able to ship me a shirt in 5 days to get it for this show. Never be the same. But I tell you, how ironic is that? We did it for 20 years, but March 31st, 2008 was the official start date for the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show, March 31st. March 31st, 2025 was the last Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. To the day. What a bittersweet anniversary. So I want to shout out everybody, who is joining me, especially live. I know a lot of you out there. Wasn't there like some premiere of some TV series tonight, like Live Without Us or something like that? What's the name of that show? Because I saw a lot of you. My wife is watching it. My wife's like, I'm going to watch, it's premiering tonight. And I saw a lot of you sending me DMs like, I'd love to tune in tonight, but at 9:00, what's the name of the show? Anybody know the name? The Last of Us. That's it. The Last of Us. A lot of you tonight, like, Yeah, I love Kev and everything, but, it's the Last of Us. And let me tell you something, Kev would be laughing his ass off right now because I guarantee you probably even on Patreon to be like, who saw The Last of Us? Whatever it is. I don't know. I'm kind of like speechless. Wrestling-wise, I didn't watch Raw on Monday. I waited for Raw to end before we did the show because I know a lot of people did not know what happened. Not everybody lives on social media, and that's true. When Nick Khan said earlier this week, I did see that clip. It is true. Not everybody lives on social media because there was a lot of people going into Monday night on the Discord that had no idea what happened. Oh, there is something else. When I was in my office Tuesday, I went into my back room and I found a whole bunch of old DTKC stuff. I think there's like 50 mugs, a bunch of keychains. Anybody remember the cardboard fans when you're really hot? Remember those that we used to have? Hopefully I think they were stapled, so I don't think the glue like wore off. There's a bunch of old DTKC stuff. So, in time we'll just unload it, I mean, I definitely keep a few for myself, but I don't need 100 of them. So, we'll definitely work on that. But rest in peace, Kev. Rest in peace. Johnny says The Last of Us ruined the whole franchise. No, thank you to season 2. Carmelo, they actually do have this show on Pro Wrestling Tees, but I don't want to make it sound like a marketing thing. Trust me, I'm not making money off of this. If I gain more interest because of it, it is what it is. But no, I was so Monday after the show was done Monday. I played play because I always do that to make sure that the episode is working. And I heard an ad, and I was like, no. And I contacted the ad company. Thank God they're on the West Coast. So they got my message and they fixed it within 5 minutes. But even tonight, it's like, somebody near had sent a super chat in and I'm like, oh no. And I know what I originally thought. Bunch of you said, how come no GoFundMe was set up? And it's a funny thing you say that. If everybody's brought it up. I have not talked to John as far as if the family needs any help financially with his funeral. But I had asked Kev because some of you said this too. When Kev, I'll reveal something. I know Kev wouldn't mind. Kev and I love to do the YouTube special episode shows, not just because it was a different special episode, but for those that don't know, I gave Kev all the revenue that was generated in supers. We split it down the middle, but, after, we put money aside for taxes, I had next to nothing, which is fine. But when Kev had the health issues, I said to him, you're all right, with the bills? He's like, I got all these crazy bills coming in on hospitals and medical and stuff. And I could show the DMs, but I don't need to prove to myself. I said, Kev, they do have assistance. In fact, I think he mentioned on Patreon. I said that if you have issues paying them, they do have hardship. You got to contact the hospital and fill out a couple of forms. If you need help, I'll be more than happy to help you. I've helped others. He's like, no, I appreciate that. And I said to him, you want me to launch a GoFundMe? Help him with his medical bills? He's like, no. He's like, he says, I'm not going to ask anybody for money out there. He just felt there was a sense of pride about Kev. Kev's like, I'll be good. I'll figure it out. I'll make it work. So that's why a GoFundMe, a lot of people set up GoFundMes because they truly are in need. There are some people out there that, let's be honest, there are some people who set up GoFundMes that don't want to dig deep into their own pocket and take away the money that they save for Disney for 2027. They don't want to take that money out, so we'll set up a GoFundMe instead. Help with the funeral expenses. Some people do that. Problem is there's no way to prove who truly does that and who doesn't. Because when you set up a GoFundMe, you don't have to send copies of bank statements. You could have $100,000 in the bank and still get a GoFundMe set up. Kev had too much pride, and Kev's like, don't you dare set up a GoFundMe. I don't want one. I'm not going to ask wrestling fans to do money. He accepted help for the cats. Cats were a different story. But for him, would not accept the GoFundMe. Almighty One says that DTKC was the first show that he ever saw before anyone because there was nobody there. There was very few shows at the time. Dave Meltzer did, I can't remember the name of his show. What was it? I'm just trying to think. Remember my Donzilla versus the podcast Geeks or whatever? And one of them had Dave Meltzer's clip in there. I don't remember what it was called, but might have been the same name. You had In Your Head. Anybody remember In Your Head? That was one. There was only like 4 or 5. I don't think it was called Wrestling Observer Radio. I think it was called something else. Listen. Oh, that's another thing. I have no idea what the title Monday show. I don't want to bring back the Don Tony show because I feel like I'm taking Kev's name off. I don't want to do that. So I think Monday just might be Raw review and news. That's probably what it's going to be for now. But I will be playing old intros of the DTKC show. The one about Hogan is going up tomorrow. Don Tony and Kevin Castle versus, I don't even remember what it was, but Hulk Hogan when he was in TNA. I thought about the Don Tony and Kevin Castle show, keeping the name for a little while, but I think that's going to be met with a little bit of negativity. Oh, you're profiting off of Kev's name. Why do you have Kev's name on the show if he can't talk, if he's not here anymore? It's really, really, I've thought about all of that, and I don't want to, there's always going to be trolls. There was a few trolls on Twitter. I'm sure you've seen them. Whatever. But we'll take it day by day for now. So, yeah, listen, tomorrow goes up. We'll be good. Thank you, Julius. Julius became a member of the Donzilla Army and a Castle Comrade. Prince says he used to watch one other show, which was a sports show called Vlogcast. Mike and Mike. Oh, wait, one of the mics was kind of heavy, right? I think I know who that is, Mike and Mike. Then he found us on YouTube through TV Tracks. Man, I was hoping TV Tracks was going to DM me. I don't know what happened to that guy. I don't want to sound terrible, but I wonder if he passed away. Because I can't believe that he would just disappear and just not talk to anybody after that. You know, for those that don't know, TV Tracks on YouTube is where a lot of you found our shows. TV Tracks used to make a lot of money on YouTube. A lot of money. And sorry if I'm beyond it, I got really awful sleep this whole week. Shit sleep. You just wake up and, you know, it's funny. Some people, you always hear on TV, this felt like a dream. Like, I feel like I'm watching a movie. There was 2-3 times this week that I felt like it was a dream. When I got up Tuesday in the middle of the night, I honestly thought, oof, that was fucked up. And I was like, you know, it felt like a dream. But he was making a shitload of money on YouTube. We didn't get any of it, which was fine because he was helping us spread the word. Then he became a member of our Patreon family and gave Kev and I a few dollars on the side, more than you would think. And he's like, I got to do this. Thank you for letting me put the shows up. And then ad apocalypse happened where YouTube started cutting all the ad revenue for wrestling shows. And he sent me a DM and he said, I just want to thank you for letting me post your content for the last couple of years, but I got to take some time off. And I knew immediately it was because of what happened with Adpocalypse. Because I realized that guy was doing 30 to 40 hours a week already for the shows. Because you got to realize, Kevin and I were about 3 hours a show, sometimes longer. Solomonster was 2 to 3 hours a show. He would listen to every minute of our shows and pull out the clips that he thought were worth putting by itself as a file. And then you have to edit it, upload it, put it as a separate title. And he didn't just do that for us and Solo. There was a few others also. So you think about him sitting there listening to every minute and then pulling the clips out, then editing it, then uploading it. That guy was spending 30 to 40 hours a week on the shows. And he wasn't going to do that to make no money. So when he thanked me and he said he was taking some time off, I knew he was never coming back. I said, Trax, please don't be a stranger. Thank you for helping us spread the word. I said, I will always appreciate what you did. And that was it. Never talked to him ever again. I can't believe that he would never have DM'd us once. Hey, it's Trax. So cool to see you guys back together or to nothing. We were on his side. There was no embarrassment there. There was no anger. There was no resentment. I didn't have any words with him. We got along really, really well. So the fact that he didn't even reach out this week, and if he happens to still be around and he sees this, DM me. I want to know that you're okay. But I wonder what happened to him. I just can't believe that he would have fallen out of love with wrestling so much that he would just disappear off the face of the earth. So, Trez brings up a good point. Maybe something happened with him with COVID. That is definitely a possibility. I lost a few friends to COVID. Even afterwards, where, people think that the vaccines gave somebody a heart attack. Trust me, a few people said that this week about Kev, but there's nothing to say that, he did have COVID though, but, there's nothing to say that one had to do with the other. You just don't know. Not everybody knows who TV Trax is. That was an era. That was a wild era, man. You look back on it, that was so much fucking fun, man. It was so much fun to have that era with TV Trax, man. And it still blows me away how many of you say, oh shit, first heard about the show through TV Trax. Even to this day, there's a bunch of Reddit articles up. And again, I can't thank each and every one of you enough. Even those out there who told me to my face this week, I never liked you, DT. But you and Kev together was something special. Trust me, I'll take that. I'll take it because I definitely dug my grave or a hole. We shouldn't say it like that. I dug my hole back in the day. And I understand why some people really, really didn't like me. Hopefully, as years goes by, people understand a little bit more. I think over the last 6 days, people understand a little bit more now why we never met up and never did video and never did this and never did that. Nobody's to blame, but at least if at minimum, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense, but he will live on. I will make sure of that. And I will continue with him in my heart, in my mind, dedication, commitment, respect. And yeah, once in a while, tell people to go fuck yourself. Seriously, go fuck yourself. You know, I even said this Tuesday. I said it jokingly, but I was surprised how many people it stuck. I think Kev, looking down right now, would tell me to go balls out. Keep that DTKC spirit alive. And if anybody has a problem with it, what are they going to do? Especially the old shows. One of the reasons why a lot of the old shows have been offline was because some of our brutal honesty back in the day would have really, really triggered some people in 2025. And the other day I said on Patreon, I said, I honestly heard Kev saying to me, put that shit back online. What are you going to do, sue me? And I literally was in my house, and I still see it. I was in my house, in my bed, everything was off. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to put these shows back online? Do I have to scrub them? And I literally heard Kev's voice saying to me, you know, what are you going to do, sue me? And I literally fucking almost busted out laughing. I was like, yeah, let him try to sue Kev now. You know, man, I'm sorry for ranting tonight, guys. I really am. I'm sorry for, just venting. I've talked already this week 5-6 hours on shows. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm hurt. I'm happy. And what I mean by that is I'm happy that he was such a big part of my podcasting life. One thing is for fucking certain. One thing is for certain. I would not be doing this still if he wasn't around. And he would not have been doing it still, go all these years because if it wasn't for the hotlines, DTKC would have never happened. I am convinced that neither one of us would be doing this stuff all these years if we didn't join up. Somebody sent me a post that he wrote. I showed my wife, and my wife never met him. My wife, didn't know much about him other than what I told her, but she kind of got choked up because somebody showed me a post that Kev sent them about a month ago and said, one day I want to meet DT's wife and give her a big hug for straightening Don Tony out. I was like, whoa, I thought it was bullshit. He was a good guy, man. He was a really good guy. He's a really good guy. And Kev, you will not be forgotten. You will not be forgotten. So guys, we'll start wrapping this up soon. We're in an hour and 43 minutes. We'll finish up at 2-hour mark. Yeah, T. Kimmel says this is my therapy. Trust me, I don't mean to sound like a tough guy right now. I'm good. I don't need the therapy in that sense. His mom, his brothers, his really close friends, as close as Kev and I were, and as close as Kev was with Mish, we never met up together. But there were people. There were people that he did hang out with in person. There are some pictures online. And you look at those pictures and I look back at them like, Kev, there was fucking nothing wrong with you. I said this Monday and I'll say it here. I feel so awful about how I rubbed Lucky 13 in for that WrestleMania weekend when we had that meetup. Because even Jason Solomonster showed up and a bunch of others, and we had an epic time. And I always thought, Kev said he had to work. I'll take him for his word, but always deep down inside, I said, was he afraid to like be out in public? And when John revealed that, I felt terrible because think about this. And I mentioned this on Tuesday. Imagine you're going to go to your 20-year high school reunion. You haven't seen your friends in 20 years. And you're talking to all your friends online and they haven't seen you in 20 years. And for months and months and months, you're telling all your friends, yeah, I can't wait for the reunion. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Meanwhile, deep down inside, you're so afraid to be seen. You know you're not going. So what happens right before the reunion? Guys, I want to go so bad, but my job called me to work. I got to work. I can't. I'll lose my job. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You know, there's always 25. And then what happens? All your friends meet up, first time in 20 years. And they keep talking about it. 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 And every time you hear it, every time I brought it up, deep down inside, Kev must be like, this motherfucker cocksucker. I don't want to hear nothing about Lucky 13 because he was supposed to be there. Feel terrible. Really do. If I would have known the truth to his grave, I would have said, no, he had to work. He really had to work. Really, really, really shame. Yeah, shout out to JD, shout out to Cronin, shout out to Solo, shout out to Drew, shout out to Trez, shout out to Mish. You know, listen, I want to make this clear, and definitely something I think even Mish would want me to say. Mish and I are not doing shows again. Mish and I are not friends again. We are on speaking terms because of what happened to Kev. But on my part, there is zero animosity towards Mish. There is zero animosity towards Joey Numbers, right? There's much more important things about life than to have grudges about the way people, you know, were on the shows. I had a lot of faults. I definitely was a majority of the reason why some of my co-hosts left. Not always, but some. But I hope to have thought that I have grown a little bit over the years, you know, and hopefully that's not looked at anymore. But, you know, we are good. You know, Mish and I are good. But I don't want anybody to start thinking, oh, maybe you two guys could do shows again. I don't see it happening. And I think it's probably better that way. So. Byron is asking me, who would have Kevin Castle picked for WrestleMania 41? His prediction in the three-way was Roman Reigns. I don't want to reveal mine yet. Because I still have, you know, Roman Reigns is going to be on Raw tomorrow. So I still have that extra episode. So I'm sorry, Kev. I'm one episode ahead of you because I get to see an extra episode. He'll be watching up there. Hopefully you don't have to pay for cable up there. He picked Roman Reigns. I did not so far. And he reluctantly picked John Cena. He is not a John Cena fan. It's funny. Somebody said to me that John Cena sent his condolences. I have not seen it. And I really wasn't even going to mention that because I think that sounds awful to say something like that. And then somebody feels obligated. But there were quite a few people who did, you know, publicly and privately did. And some of the people, I was, you know, I'll say this, you know, like my wife asked me, because my wife is brutally honest with me. You know, I think I might have said this once or twice on Patreon. I don't think I've ever said it here. When I was fighting with Kev and a few others online, once or twice I would write something on Twitter and I would think it's like the biggest like troll job that I could write about them. And when we were feuding, there was still a lot of hatred. I wrote something before I hit send. I showed it to my wife and I said to my wife, I said, honey, Look what I'm going to post. And I don't remember exactly what I said. This is probably sometime in 2020. And I let her read it. And she looked at me and she said, "How old are you?" And I was just like taken back for a second. Like, I honestly, for some reason, during, my stupider years, I thought she was like, "You go." She's like, "How old are you?" Did I marry a teenager? She's like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Holy fucking shit, you bitch." And I fucking deleted it. And that actually helped on the mending because I realized that a lot of the fighting was petty. A lot of the fighting was petty. And I definitely made a lot of mistakes. So, but he reluctantly chose John Cena. He reluctantly chose. Oh, but when I was getting with my wife, I showed her a couple of people who reached out. Very, very big names on television. And she read some of the things and she said to me, she goes, "You really think that person tuned into your shows or you think they're just going through the motions?" And I was like, "No, I honestly feel like they did." And you know what's funny? I can't remember what else this person wrote, but this person wrote something like, "I'm not a conceited, whatever." Like, there's like a lot of stuck up people on TV now. Like once they make it, it's like, fuck everybody. But I realized there's a lot of people that are not like that. There are people out there that I've always said this, and kind of like when I started getting more politically correct, which I regret, but I don't, because I've also learned, to be a little bit more respectful. But I always said this, a lot of people on TV, they cry the same pain. When you would hear stories about Lana crying every day, people be like, "Oh, shut up. You're a fucking millionaire. You're crying." But it's like, no, man, mental health could really, really affect even people who have made it in this world. It doesn't make any, you look at some of the awful tragedies over these years, from Robin Williams to others, people still hurt. And that's always stood with me. Like, you know what? When somebody says they're hurting, don't always feel like because they've made it means they can't hurt. People hurt. People hurt. I mean, I could read other things that will blow you away, that people just couldn't even think straight. And I'm like, I even joked. I said, "Kev? Really?" I was like, holy shit. Yeah. He fucking, his life was all of you. For real. Yeah, fuck the haters. But you know what? There's so few. There's so few. I would hope that even when we put old stuff up, I'm already prepared, guys. I'm already prepared for somebody to take a clip from 2006 where I say something awful about somebody, and then they're going to put it online, and they're going to be like, "Can you believe this motherfucker said?" I'll give you one right now. I'll prepare everybody right now. One of the episodes that I put on Patreon this weekend was a WrestleMania recap, but it was more than that. And we talked about Ashley Mazzaro showing up the Raw after WrestleMania. And I'm the one that originally created the term crackhead Smurf. When she came out with the blue and the pink, I said she looks like crackhead Smurf. This was before we had any idea about what was going on emotionally. We just saw the person on TV and saw how emaciated she looked. And I'm like, she looks like a crackhead. She looks like a Smurf, a crackhead Smurf. And I feel awful. I'm not going to deny. I feel awful because of what happened to her. But at that time, the only thing that we knew at that time was her relationship, I think, with Matt Hardy, the stuff about the escorts in Long Island, and this, and stories about her daughter. We had no idea. If I would have known years later this would have happened, I probably wouldn't have said that. But somebody is going to bring it up. Somebody's going to bring it up. And hopefully somebody will turn around and say, it was 2008, whatever it was. It's not how we feel now. So, Douche is saying he's pretty sure WWE's afraid of the Piggy James stuff going viral with the Michelle McCool Hall of Fame induction. Maybe. I'm still convinced Sting will be there. I think this is all designed. In fact, I think some of you even brought it up weeks ago that DDP will be the one to induct him, and then DDP will tell him, get up, get out of that wheelchair, walk to the podium. Remember we talked about that? Sting will be there, though. I honestly think Sting will be there. If Sting was still on TV as an active competitor for AEW, I would feel a little different. Did you all happen to see The Rock with the Rubik's Cube revealing that he watches AEW? Just out of boredom earlier, I made this. This was going to be the thumbnail for tomorrow, but I'm changing it. This might just be, I don't know, it might still be. I made that. Instead of him with the Rubik's Cube, I kind of like made a fake hand and 50 ways to fuck up WrestleMania. So, yeah, I was trying to like get my mind off of stuff earlier, but The Rock watches AEW. Do I believe it? No, I don't think so. You know why? Because he didn't give any specific examples. You know, anybody could say that you watch something, and if you don't start getting into little specifics, or maybe he watched like a couple of years ago but hasn't watched now. But you know what? The fact that he said that, it's a compliment to AEW. So maybe there is a little bit of mending going on. We'll see. We'll see. But I truthfully see it. I see DDP, get up, get out of that wheelchair. You walk to that podium and you accept your Hall of Fame award. And then Sting comes out, gives him the hug. Bunch of tears are shed. And people like, you know what? Maybe the wrestling world isn't as bad after all. I think that's what's going to happen. John says Cody is going to sell his soul to The Rock at WrestleMania. It's got to be Randy Orton. Oh, tomorrow when we get into news, we'll talk about Randy Orton and the odds of who he's going to face. The odds are so freaking stupid. They have Triple H on there. Triple H has got a bad heart. He can't wrestle. I mean, the fact that people are even allowing people to bet on Triple H is a fraud. It's a fraud. I'll tell you, I'm shocked. How many of you in the chat room right now, I want to finish on a little right now. We'll finish in a couple of minutes, but how many of you out there truly think Dominic Mysterio is winning that championship? How many of you out there think? Because the betting odds like dramatically changed. Kev thinks that Dominic Mysterio could actually win it. I think Braun Breaker is retaining it. I just cannot picture walking out of WrestleMania with Braun Breaker not on top winning that belt. I think Dom or Finn Balor will cost the other person the win. And I think that's what ends up happening. I also think Finn Balor may end up getting jumped. Most people think that Finn Balor is going to turn babyface. Some people think if Dominic wins the title, he'll turn babyface. But, you know, Finn Balor, I could see Finn Balor being let me say it like this. I see Finn Balor being a babyface right now 10 times more than I see Dominic Mysterio. But what if they swerve us and Liv Morgan joins up with Finn Balor? What if Liv Morgan kicks Dominic Mysterio in the balls, maybe the night after WrestleMania, and she aligns with Finn Balor? Problem is, somebody's going to be added to Judgment Day. What if they add Rusev, like my idea? And then why would they kick out Dominic? Like if Dominic brings someone to the Judgment Day, why would that person kick out Dominic who brought him in? That's why I think Finn Balor might be the one on the way out more than anything. So a lot of you think that Penta will win. Many of you believe Braun Breaker will retain. We'll see. We'll see. But well, we'll definitely have some fun. I am going to do a predictions contest on YouTube and on Patreon. Oh, I definitely should bring this up. I really don't need to bring it up here because our Patreon family already knows this. On Patreon, the higher tiers, the cost, I reduced it, cut it in half. I think that's the right thing to do. You know, we'll talk on Patreon about that more. But like I said, on YouTube, I'll start adding old DTKC Show episodes. You know, that's going to be a little bit harder. Plus, since, you know, we're not doing a show together on Monday nights, you know, like doing the, you know, that enhanced version with thumbnails and videos, that'll change a little bit. But I don't think it'll change that much. But, you know, I will start putting some retro up there. The only thing I got to do is I got to trim out some of the intros because we don't want to get in trouble for the music. So, but, so as of right now, what it looks like is Monday night, we'll do a Raw review. We'll do news. Tuesday, I'll take off. And then Wednesday, I'll do WrestleMania and stand and deliver predictions. And then maybe Friday, we'll do another news update. And then as far as WrestleMania goes, I'm not sure if I'll do a review for each night. If I do, I'll probably do one Sunday morning for Saturday night and do one Monday morning for Sunday night. I'm not sure. I am not even thinking that far ahead right now. This is all still really, really rough, man. AS7607, absolutely. Happy birthday to Grandmama. She's turning 90 tomorrow. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. 90 years old. I hope, listen, I joked with Kev a couple of weeks ago. I hope to live to be 70. You know? Life's too short, man. I'm telling you, if you ever were touched by Kev, always keep his memory alive. Always celebrate the escape that he gave you over the years. But also, be very, very observant online. If you see someone else or if you find yourself, you know, I get it. We don't ride bikes anymore. We don't go to the mall anymore. We don't even go to the movie theaters like we used to. We don't hang out in the park. We don't hang out in the corners. You know, people stay home a hell of a lot more than 20 years ago. But if you find yourself or you see someone else that is just not showing up at family functions, that is not showing up at funerals, that is not showing up for really important occasions, and you see excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, there may be a bigger issue going on. And, you know, like I said Tuesday, there's an old phrase, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. You know, you could only do so much. But be observant. And again, my apologies for anybody that heard Monday's show and heard a lot of medicine being given. But believe me when I tell you, we have enough of our Patreon family. And again, this is not a plug for Patreon, but anybody that's ever heard a show that a solo show that Kev has done on Patreon, he would be telling every single one of them out there, you need to look out for this. You need to be careful for this. You need to do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. He was always looking out. And he would be telling you, look, maybe I didn't realize it, but I'm telling you now, you know, be careful. Be careful. But in closing, smile. Smile. Be very, very proud of yourselves. Because again, the amount of love, the amount of respect, the amount of tribute, even as haters privately. I could see haters publicly doing it to try to save face, but privately they didn't have to do. They owe me nothing. I can't tell you how many reached out to me and said beautiful things. And you could tell when somebody means it, and I could not pull out a bullshitter. You know, you all made that man happy. And although those final moments, I'm sure, were awful, I guarantee you, 12 hours earlier, he and I were having a ball, getting the shit together for WrestleMania. All right, you want to do Stand and Deliver? Yeah, we'll do Stand and Deliver. What's going on with Julia? I don't know. We got to see NXT Tuesday, you know, because we didn't know. I mean, remember, shit happened on Tuesday. What do you think about this? Where are you going on this match? You think Randy Orton's going to come out and screw Cody? What do you think about this? We were just taking notes and writing little things down. So when we did our prediction show tonight, we would fucking lay it all out there. And then this happened. So just be proud, guys. I'm telling you, I can't say it enough. Find me one person that got this much online that wasn't directly related in the business. Won't find anybody. It's a beautiful thing. And I can't thank you all enough. And for those that were looking out for me, that was very, very special and very humbling. And I will never forget that. I'll never forget that. I just don't know who's going to say kind words about me when I go. Right? Like, who's going to do a podcast for me? I'll be good. I'll be good. Kev definitely made me a better person. Absolutely made me a better person. Made me a more dedicated person. And I know you've heard me say this 1 trillion times over the years. Said it 2 weeks ago. Kev and I still love wrestling. We have a ball doing this. You know, we didn't say this a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, and now we're saying it again now. As recent as 2 weeks ago, we still absolutely have so much fun talking wrestling and doing what we do. That's what makes this so hard. We have more fun now than probably in about 15 years. That's how great these shows were. That's why I am so, so grateful that we buried the hatchet. Imagine if we didn't, and then we got this news. I'm so grateful that we buried the hatchet and we were able to give you, you know, just an escape. And again, his legacy will live on. And I will definitely make Kev proud. I will make Kev proud. So my thoughts are with all of you. I know quite a few of you out there who had a very special online friendship with Kev who are really, really struggling with this. He's at peace. You don't have to take no more medicine. He could eat eggplant parmesan all fucking day long if he wants. He's busy with Chris and the cats upstairs. He's with his dad. He's probably going to watch The Ultimate Warrior somewhere. He is having fun up there. And maybe one day we'll see him again. Maybe one day. Well, you know what I mean. We'll see him. Be happy, guys. I'm not just saying it to try to make you feel better. Be happy. Because Kev would be fucking mad right now if he saw anybody upset and down. He would want you to be happy. I'm very touched by all of your support, what you've tributes, and he would be absolutely touched as well. He would not, on our darkest days, on our tragedies, and the show must go on. You listen to those episodes. You listen to that episode when Kev did the show after learning about his dad. You listen to the episode Kev and I did about my dog. You know, the night of my dog. I had people that came back to us like, how did you laugh about this stuff in the back of your mind? You put your dog to sleep. How could you be giggling? That's how much of an escape these shows were. It allowed us to continue and keep going. You got to do that as well. So much love, everybody. Much love. I'll see you all in the next one. And you all stay strong, man. I'll definitely have more of an online presence from now on. I see how sociable Kev was on Twitter. I will be there for you. Fuck the trolls. Fuck the haters. Fuck the people that don't like it. You will definitely have me online a hell of a lot more. But I'll keep it in balance, obviously. So be well, everybody. I'll catch you all in the next one. Kev, we love you, brother. Rest in peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.